Hey, it's your old pal Slim, and this is 70mm, a podcast for film lovers just like you. Every Monday, I chat about recently watched movies with my close friend and artist, Danny Haas.
When he restrings his bow, like I get so excited about him restringing a bow, and I don't know why, but it looks awesome. Like he's ready for battle.
And our spiritual advisor and movie insider, Protolexis.
I've said it before, and I'll just say it again. When I am president, every American child will receive the Ghibli box set at birth. That is my promise to this nation.
Our featured discussion later in this episode for the animated summer is Proto's pick from Studio Ghibli, Princess Mononoke. Feel free to use the chapters in your podcast app to skip ahead to that discussion. Is this the ideal movie to teach your kids about suffering? Does it have the most complex characters in the history of animation? Let's find out together. Hayao Miyazaki. Ever heard of him?
Mm-hmm.
Princess Mononoke is our featured presentation later in the show. I just want to call out real quick. There are still limited quantities of the Hayao pin in the Village storefront, vhsvillage.com. That day,
Hey-o.
limited quantities available. So I'm just throwing that out there. Supporters get a discount on all the merch that's on there. A word to the wise. Later in the show, if you're disgusted by our Mononoke conversation, there's another podcast out there that you can try. Our friends at the Movie Mixtape podcast covered it this exact week as of recording. And our close personal friend, Mikey P, did the art for that episode. Danny, what did you think about that art that he dropped for that
Gorgeous
pod?
art. You know, I felt scared for what I had to accomplish this week after
Really?
seeing the art that he dropped. I almost had to just, copy paste and take his art for the show.
Oh, there it is again.
I have seen your art. It hasn't been posted as of recording in chat, but I have seen the art. And you went hard.
Yeah. Like he forced my hand this week.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. This week it's pretty incredible. Everyone's staring at it right now in their feed. They probably aren't even, they're not even registering what we're saying because they're just consumed by this art that Danny
They're on
created.
SEPTA. They're going to the office on Monday morning and they're looking at the art on their little telephone. There is something that I do want us to immediately get into.
oh gosh.
And that is the Joker 2 announcement. Pardo, you've
Oh,
seen the
gosh.
news on social media, the sequel starring Lady Gaga. How do you feel about this news?
Didn't this happen a couple weeks ago? Why are we
I
talking
think they
about
gave
this now?
the title officially today.
Oh, it's like Joker
Some French.
Cirque du Soleil or something, right?
That's pretty close. I'm not going to even bother to pronounce it because I already closed the tab that had the title in it.
Thank you.
Are you ready for a Joker sequel musical with Joaquin and Lady Gaga?
Well, I had a great time with the first one. I remember when I watched that, I think I fired it up the next day. I liked it so much. I had such a great time watching that. I didn't finish it second time around, but yeah, I mean, Joaquin is he the height of acting right now? Is he the top?
That's the question.
Top dog?
That's the question.
Well, you're the movie insider. I feel like you should be telling us, really.
Well, this is not how you crow. I know the answer. I asked the question, and then you search within to find it.
Joker Folie à Deux is the full title. The year 2024? Who gives a crap?
just-
2024.
yeah.
It's so far away. 2.5 years.
We're all dead by then.
if this podcast is still running and we haven't self-destructed in almost 2.5 years, will we cover Joker 2, Danny? Will that be a feature presentation episode?
No.
Wow.
There's no way. Are you serious?
Wow.
Maybe. Our first musical month, we'll throw it in.
HBO Max will be rebranded for the 3rd time by the time this movie comes out on digital services, probably.
We'll do La La Land, Joker 2.
Oh, God.
Jeez.
I'm definitely not going to be on the show by then.
Ian stepping in for all 4 episodes that month with Dale guesting. Let's say hello to some patrons that joined this week. Jasmine and Alex all joined our Patreon. They get access to our VHS Village Vault, which now includes our Lost pilot season episode for the TV show Lost. Not that we have a bit where we're doing a Lost episode. And just a reminder, we have our first ever meetup in the greater Philadelphia area at the end of August just for patrons. They're getting the secret details. They're getting the address. They're getting the info on special merch only available to people that show up for this meetup. So hopefully they all RSVP'd. If you didn't RSVP, we're turning you away at the door.
Mm-hmm.
You're not allowed in, Proto.
Not allowed.
Yeah, that's fair. Not only is Mikey P an artist, but he also is a book a bouncer. So he'll be at the door throwing people on their heinies if they don't have the correct credentials.
Karate kicking people with his Nike mids. Right?
No.
Aren't that what those called? There's a called Nike
High
mids.
tops, I think.
Nike mid high top colorway.
Let's move on.
Sorry. Dan, did you watch any movies this week?
You know, I did watch, I watched an animated film this week called Pocahontas.
What?
My daughter chose it. I didn't log it, honestly, because I forgot to log it. But what I want to talk about is I binged the 6+ hour Disney special Light and Magic. And when I say that this is the best thing on Disney Plus, I'm being serious. I couldn't get enough of the show.
Wow.
It basically is, it's the creation and forming of ILM, George Lucas's baby. And it goes from, and I think I dragged my feet a little bit on it because I didn't want another Star Wars documentary to watch. And it does, obviously it has to talk about Star Wars, but it really is about the men and women of ILM. And it's the beginnings of their journey to where they are now. And it really is magical. It really is something that is inspiring to watch as an artist, as someone who likes movies, who likes to see how movies are made, to see everything that they did in these beginning times. It's pretty incredible. And what also I found incredible was that, I know it sounds kind of morbid, but these people are still alive. That, John Dykstra and Dennis Murin and Joe Johnson, I mean, they're old now, but these are all new interviews with them, new interviews with George, Spielberg, James Cameron. I mean, it's an impressive documentary, and it says season 1, and I don't know what they would do for a season 2. But it's perfect. It really is perfect. And I loved every second of it.
Is there a lot of footage from years past, or what's it consist of?
So I would say that I've seen most of the Star Wars behind the scenes stuff. There is so much in this I have not seen. So much. And what was amazing about it was it seemed like a lot of home footage, but they had to have upscaled it somehow. The quality of some of this stuff that they have is incredible. And it's them building the ships and working on, all the things. And it goes hard into their process of going from practical to digital as well. And what the toll that took on people. You watch Joe Johnston quitting ILM and him talking about it, and George trying to stop him and then paying for his college.
Joe,
and
come back.
Please don't make fun of George in front of me. But anyway, it's incredible. It's an incredible documentary, and I recommend it to anyone who's listening and likes movies.
Maybe they called up Peter Jackson, got his little secrets for that 8mm footage or 16mm Beatles dock that he cleaned
For
up.
the season 2?
Mm-hmm.
Or in terms of the upscaling, the old footage.
Yeah, I mean, some of the old footage, it looks incredible. And it's impressive what they do in this documentary.
The one only thing I haven't watched it, but the only thing I know about is I follow that Star Wars Twitter account, that original trilogy fan Twitter account, and allegedly some of the footage from the original trilogy in the ILM TV show is like clean 4K transfers of shots that have never been released on Blu-ray or 4K. So
honestly, yeah,
meaning that like
it has to be.
There is this is like the first official confirmation that there is a clean 4K transfer of the original trilogy out there.
Wow.
Which I guess has been assumed, and that like Disney just has not ever said so or released it. So maybe there's hope that they'll eventually release it at some point.
Yeah, and it's definitely worth your time. It's long. Every episode's an hour, maybe a little bit, hour plus. And what's great about it is it's not really focusing. George is in it a lot. Obviously, he's talking about the time, but it's not focusing on the actors. Harrison's not a part. It's not talking about, Carrie or Mark and all the beginning stuff. It's really focusing on the men and women who worked at ILM, and it's fascinating.
Okay. Just a reminder, Princess Mononoke, you can use the chapters to skip ahead right to that section, or just skip right to my pick, which I'll be revealing later in the show. But do we want to talk about the Andor trailer? The Star Wars Andor trailer that had dropped? Proto? Did you sit down to watch? Me? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I want to hear your feelings.
So the Andor, I'm on the record of saying Rogue One is a okay film. It's okay. Look great though.
Said it twice on the show.
so good we had to do 2 episodes on the movie. So this Andor thing, I think they released a teaser maybe last year, a year before. I hand brushed it aside. Hand brushed it.
Mm-hmm.
I got Kenobi coming up. I don't care about Andor.
Oh, baby.
We're not going to bring up, we're not going to go deep on Kenobi. But when I saw this Andor trailer, I was like, I'm back. I'm back in on
like
Star Wars live action. And I just could not believe how different the entire presentation is. This looks like a feature film filmed on expensive sets, while Kenobi looked like a fan film diorama filmed on a shoestring budget. And I don't get it. So I'm very excited about Andor. Proto.
Yeah. I'm excited too. Yeah, I think if they took that trailer and maybe cut out 30 seconds of it, you could convince me that this was like a feature film that's going to be released in theaters. It looks really great. And yeah, we've heard that it was done differently than the other shows. No dome. We're dome-free zone. So I'm excited, and this is I think the September 21st, was that the date?
Yeah, end of September.
Right around the corner.
Danny, you have to be jazzed for this. You love Rogue One.
I'm more than jazzed. Rogue One is still easily the best thing that Disney's produced with the Star Wars license. And I am very excited. I love Cassian. We know how his story ends. So I want to see what made him the rebel that he was in Rogue One. And I think we'll get that.
Pardo, are there any movies you want to chat about this week?
You know what? I did want to just say I got caught up in a couple documentaries over the past few weeks that I just wanted to run through, just for the record. I mentioned one of them to you guys, I think last week. So there's a few David Attenborough shows that kind of, for me at least, flew under the radar on Netflix. I feel like Planet Earth was kind of an event for people. Right. Like when that was coming out, it was like, oh my God, Planet Earth 2, this is going to be amazing. Now there's like a bunch of like 2 or 3 episode shots of like these different shows. And one of them on Netflix is called Life in Color. So I popped this on a couple days ago with my kids, and I was blown away by what I was seeing in this. There were multiple times where I thought, like, this has to be fake. Like, this cannot be real footage of these animals.
Wow.
It might be the best 4K anything that I've seen. I was aghast at the quality of this, and just the footage of these animals and what they captured was amazing. And they what this series is doing is they have found they have technology to kind of see and prove that animals of like the different colors they see and how they use that to communicate with each other and communicate with different species. So it's kind of showing us things that we didn't know was there before, but it also just looks incredible. So I highly recommend that. Is that a real
still that Sam just posted in chat? That looks like it could be CGI.
That's Pixar.
I don't know what that is. Is that from Joker 2? What is that? So I watched that, and then I also I was browsing Reddit, and every once in a while, a documentary like pops up in there. I don't know where they come from. I don't know if it's like a suggested post or whatever, but I usually just like read the title and then like move on. But this one, for whatever reason, caught my eye. It was called the Century of Self, and this came out in 2002, so it's older, and it was done by a guy named Adam Curtis, and it's a 4-parter, and it's about how Sigmund Freud's work and the whole psychoanalysis research that sprung up in the 19th and 20th century, how that was used to kind of fuel propaganda and the whole advertising industry. And it gives like this really broad overview of all this stuff. It is extremely fascinating. I think I think the closest thing I could relate it to is maybe like Ken Burns, whereas Ken Burns is more history. This was more of like, hey, this is how we got here in terms of just the relationship between consumers and businesses and governments. So really fascinating, really cool doc. I had never heard of it, and it just kind of popped up, and I was glad I watched it.
Reddit does it again.
Yeah, Reddit. It's there for you.
If anyone has the time, could we get perhaps a Photoshop of Eminem with his beard, that's fake beard, and Ken Burns' hair on Eminem?
Oh my God.
Or vice versa. If anyone has the time to orchestrate something like that. Listen, I have it's great hair. Great hair, great facial hair. You do what you can.
The last thing I'll say is I did get to see Nope, the new Jordan Peele movie. Yeah, I saw Nope. I got into the theater. I was away with my family. We were up visiting my sister-in-law, and I went to the AMC 16 marquee up in Trumbull, Connecticut. So they had I really wanted to go. They had this. So you walk into the theater, and on one side, they have like 10 screens. On the other side, they have the Bowtie Experience. The BTX. It takes up the whole one side of the building.
Is BTX a real thing, or did you just make that up?
No, that's what it's called. It's called BTX, Bowtie Experience.
Bow tie.
Bow tie. Yeah, like you're wearing a bow tie. Like you're going to a formal event.
What?
It had it was like a 300-seat theater or something in there. But unfortunately, the showing was at 10 o'clock, and my brother-in-law said, I'm going to fall asleep if we go at 10 o'clock. So
at night?
Yeah. So we went to the 8 o'clock showing in a 30-seat screen.
Oh, God. All that build up.
Yeah. I want to get back there though and experience the bow tie.
One day.
Bow tie experience.
One day.
But I mean, I had a good time with this Jordan Peele movie. I had some issues with it. I think like the latter half that I was kind of poking around. I think some other people had issues with it as well. But a great theater experience, I think. Jordan Peele, I think he's one of those directors where for the foreseeable future, I think you got to go to the theater. Like you're going to get something good and compelling from him.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm on board with all Jordan Peele's, movies going forward in the theater. But I'm really curious for Danny to see this. I can't wait to hear what you think.
Mm-hmm. Saturday night, baby.
Saturday night date night, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Is the movie Insider ready to proclaim Jordan Peele the master of horror?
I think he could be on his way. I'll give him a junior master at this point. He's a junior master in training. And I think his magnum opus is right around the corner. We could just be years away.
Oh my.
I know we're rapidly running out of tape.
Please.
So we have Mononoke, we have a ton of emails to get to, but I did want to circle back to Danny watching Pocahontas. Are you going to give that a log and a rating on Pocahontas?
How about a live log?
Live log job.
4 stars with a heart. I know it's very problematic when it comes to the telling of Pocahontas' story and the depiction of Native Americans and indigenous people. But it is gorgeous.
Great music too, right?
Good. Yeah. Just Around the River Bend, Colors of the Wind. A lot of songs slap. It's really a beautiful animated film. There you go.
Thanks for that.
You're welcome.
Before we get into Mononoke, first we'll give away a free year of Letterboxd Pro. Disclaimer, I'm Letterboxd Employee. If you share the show on social media, you get entered into a digital raffle to win that year of Letterboxd Pro. Get no more ads, and you get a host of stats, end of year stats you can check out. You can sort by your favorite streaming services, see where your movie is available. Midnight Maze wins a free year of Letterboxd Pro. They said in a tweet, "This is the 70mm episode that hooked me. When Slim said he was levitating in his seat during the Batman, I knew these were my people."
Yes.
What an ep. That's our most popular episode, the Batman episode. I'm confident in revealing right now. It blew away Dune. Dune is now in the dust.
Yeah.
Dune's finished. It's out.
It's in the dust.
The one movie I'll say, I watched Prey, the Predator prequel that will now officially be on Hulu as of this episode's release. Oh God, we're back. Predator is back. Danny Trachtenberg did it. He did the impossible. He made a good Predator movie in modern times. I didn't think it was possible, but I had an amazing time. My son also had an amazing time. My son gave it 5 stars. He's a big Predator fan.
5 stars.
5 stars from James.
Go.
Yeah. He's not effing around right now.
No.
With this rating. Okay?
I believe it. Was Danny also in the original Predator that I didn't know about?
Danny.
Like Shane?
Oh, no, I don't believe so.
In order to direct this Predator movie.
He played an infant in the jungle kidnap scene. All right, let's get into our feature presentation. Princess Mononoke, 1997. The big one. With a script. Listen, I didn't know this. Maybe we'll get into this. Neil Gaiman wrote the English language script?
Excuse me?
Watch out.
You believe this?
Do you believe right now?
The Sandman fame. Frodo, what's this movie about?
Ashitaka, a Amishi prince, defends his village from a corrupted god. Ashitaka kills the god, but is cursed to die and must leave his home in search of a cure in the west. There he encounters Lady Eboshi, warden of Irontown. Ashitaka learns that the corrupted god was Nago, a boar who was shot and poisoned by an iron ball. Furious with Irontown and Lady Eboshi, the wolf goddess Moro and her human daughter San seek to kill her and rid the forest of the humans. Eboshi, wanting to stake her claim to the land, also seeks to kill the great forest spirit. As the creatures of the forest clash with the people of Irontown, Ashitaka must risk his life to find peace. Princess Mononoke.
Studio Ghibli.
Mm-hmm.
Danny, you have a storied history with these movies, right? Aren't these formative films? Is this the most formative out of all of them?
No. I don't think I saw Totoro young, but I don't remember how young. But it wasn't until adult age that I really dug into Ghibli. And Mononoke, I believe, was probably the first one that I jumped into for sure. The character of San is so prevalent in pop culture, at least in the convention scene. Her character, I feel like, is cosplayed quite a bit. So when I was doing art convention or comic conventions in Artist Alley, I saw San a lot. So I think that's what kind of drove me to dig into, all of the Studio Ghiblis. But yeah, Mononoke, I think, was definitely first one for me.
And this was Proto's pick to begin the healing from the events of July 19th on our Patreon. What's your backstory with Ghibli in this movie, or just the entire catalog?
Yeah, I didn't watch these. I didn't have a history of watching these growing up, so it was more in the past few years that I've worked my way through the entire library. I don't even remember what the first one. I think My Neighbor Totoro was like the first one I saw a couple years ago. And then I watched this for the first time in the end of 2018, right before we started doing the show. Yeah, I loved it. I was blown away by this movie. And then after that, it was kind of like, yeah, let's work through all of them. I think at this point I've seen all the Ghiblis. I might have completed the catalog.
Nice.
That's where I'm at. Slim, have you seen this one before? Is this your first viewing?
I have. I think I logged it last year or the year before. There was some Mononoke talk in our Discord, maybe around the time when we did Totoro. So we do have an episode on Totoro. It's super early on. And then I think in the Discord event that I made, our last 2D animated episode, our numbered episode, like a main feed episode, was Iron Giant. I was like episode 60 or something. So almost 100 episodes
Forever ago.
It's just pretty wild.
That's incredible
to think about. I think Spirited Away was my first one. It'll be funny if anyone goes back to listen to the Totoro. We probably had this exact conversation and I have zero recollection of what I had said during that episode. So I'll try it again and say, I think Spirited Away was one of my earliest memories. I remember being weirded out by the movie. I didn't get it. I was like, this is weird. It's kind of scary. And I was like a teenager probably saying that. So, and then, we did Totoro, which I think I gave 3.5 stars during that episode. And I was vilified by the Ghibli goons.
String them up.
They wanted to string me up. But I will say that Nausicaa is it's not probably. I think Nausicaa is my favorite Ghibli. I think I gave that 5 stars. I would do anything.
Easy
for
5
her.
stars.
I would do anything for her in that movie. So that's a great experience watching that.
Well, I think I have the issue with Ghibli movies the way I have with Beatles albums. It's like whichever one you listen to last or whichever movie you watch last is my favorite. It's kind of, because it's very easy to just be like, oh, this one's my favorite.
Yeah.
And now your hosts for the evening, the Rolling Stones.
Oh, God.
Berta, you chose this movie. Why don't you go first? We go round table. Each host picks 3 things that we want to discuss, and then we'll give our final letterboxed rating. Berta, what's your number 1?
My number 1, my favorite part of this movie really is the conflicts within this. And I don't know how to really describe it. Maybe I thought of this how it feels like shapeless of the conflicts, where there really doesn't feel like there's good or bad. There's really more just personal interests that clash. And then you have Ashitaka in the middle, who's trying to, navigate and like bring peace to these different relationships. And I found this really fascinating as a rewatch, especially even at the beginning, because I'm pretty sure when I first watched this, just that scene with the boar, he's been possessed or become a demon or whatever, my just like gut reaction, and we're not even really thinking about it. It just like, I just assume, all right, this boar is evil. This is bad. It's happening. But watching it a second time, like now knowing the story, it's like, oh, well, he's not really bad. He's just, he's been affected by these other events that have like brought him here. And that the whole movie is like that, really, where I feel like having the whole backstory and the relationship of all the characters, and then watching it again, you just have an appreciation for the way the story is formed and the conflicts, and how there really doesn't feel, there's no clear cut good or bad or, right or wrong.
Yeah, I was thinking that as well when I was trying to piece together my thoughts on Lady Eboshi, about like, why is she so hell-bent on destroying the forest? I think I was conflicted because she's not outright evil, because she is bringing in the outcasts into Irontown, like the lepers and the former sex workers, and giving them jobs and caring for them pretty well. Like it's not like she's deceiving anyone. It's just that her intentions are a little clouded as to her desire as to why to like try to kill the forest spirits. And like, as the viewer, I was like, come on, like, you just don't do it. Like, I was trying to like talk her out of it. And I think most of those characters are the same way. It's like not like Shades of Grey is a little bit cliched, but more human. It's not like most people are generally all one side. There are different shades of that person. And I feel like it is no more evident than in like the entire cast of this movie.
And that's what Miyazaki does well, is he tells stories from, even if these are fantastical stories, everyone feels human and making human decisions. And Lady Eboshi, I feel like, is the best, character to talk about, because she's set up to be the villain. We're supposed to like fight for Princess Mononoke or San and Ashitaka, but she's presented to us as the villain, when in fact she is not. She's not at all, and she's just gets kind of blinded by needing to, to destroy the forest spirit so that the gods stop attacking her. But she's really defending her village. She's creating her own economy by mining iron and giving these people jobs in a stable place to live. And she's really just protecting that from the other samurai that have been attacking her, that are trying, like that we see in the beginning when Ashitaka is first traveling from his village and he sees the samurai attacking the other village. Like they're just out there taking over. And that's what Lady Eboshi is protecting Irontown from. And it's fascinating how she's written.
Lady Eboshi is the Sam's Club protecting the cheap prices of the hot dogs. Her people.
We got to keep.
She doesn't want the prices
gas
to go
prices low.
That's a perfect analogy.
Mm-hmm. That's my essay on Princess Mononoke. Danny, what's your number one for this movie?
Number one for this movie is the animation. There's so much talk about the animation that Ghibli and Miyazaki and crew create. One thing not talked about a lot for Mononoke is how much CG is in this movie, because it's very understated. And when I say that, there was talks in the beginning when Miyazaki was creating this, that he wanted to integrate some CG aspects of this. But when you do a CG movie, they look like, Toy Story and stuff. So what had to happen was he reached out and they reached out to like Microsoft and other Silicon Valley companies to create programs for animation that would integrate CG and images into cell animation organically. And so scenes like in the beginning where Ashitaka is being attacked by the first boar, that whole boar is CG animation. Like it's not hand drawn. But what they did was they blended it naturally. And so the programs create these lines to look like hand drawn cells. And it's throughout the entire film. And it's so perfectly done that no one really realizes how much computer generated scenes are in this film.
Wow.
And it just kind of blows my mind. Like when the grass at the end or the flowers bloom, once the forest god dies out of the rocks and trunks, that's all CG. So many of the landscapes are CG. When the boar dies in the beginning and it like morphs from boar to skeleton, that's all CG animation. Like it's fascinating what they did. And it really gives this movie like an amazing amount of depth, but also an amazing animated film.
Kenobi could learn a thing or two from Microsoft's 1997.
That really is incredible because I think I knew that before, but watching this, I don't even realize it.
You never do. Yeah.
It's amazing.
It's amazing. And it reminds me of ILM and George making Star Wars. Like the technology wasn't there. And so Miyazaki and all of them had to have these programs created for them to pull off the looks that they were trying to do. And it's fascinating.
The animation is nuts. Just the animation of a human being running is like always insane in these movies. The demon animation to start off the movie is wild. I think my favorite shot in the whole movie is her standing on the rooftop at that first time where she enters the town. And like she's got the mask on and like her whole outfit is like a little breezy action going on and it just like stays on her. Holy cow, what a shot.
I don't feel like in any other Ghibli film that fight scene is topped between her and Eboshi and when Ashitaka steps in. I feel like the choreography of that entire scene is top notch when it comes to Ghibli action.
Yeah,
this is a PG-13 film, so it's like their only one where it's like this kind of insane action.
When he tells that one bodyguard to step aside and he bends the sword.
Yes.
Oh my God. This wasn't any of my top three, but I think I didn't make the connection until this viewing how like there's an homage in Adventure Time to Ashitaka.
Really?
Finn loses his arm at some point in the show and eventually he has like this
spoilers.
He has this like it's not a spoiler, but he also has this thing that kind of like grows out of his hand at a certain point. He has like this leaf sword, but it's also I guess you could consider that an Akira homage too, but it like starts to take over. It helps him become more powerful. He can use it as a sword, and then eventually he loses that arm. So there's just some kind of like minor stuff in Adventure Time that's pretty fun. My number one, I called it out as like a gag review on Letterboxd about the "Life is Suffering" quote.
Life is suffering. It is hard. The world is cursed, but still, you find reasons to keep living. I'm sorry, I'm making no sense.
And how like this could be considered therapy for young children all across the countries. And it's like it's a positive and a negative in this viewing of the movie. So like full disclosure, I get kind of like snoozy towards the final act for whatever reason. If there's anything that drags,
2 hours long.
If there's anything that drags, it's kind of like towards the end, and that's when I start watching I start like checking my phone a little bit. That's when I can kind of like lose focus. But so like the plot of her trying to kill the forest spirit, they're working so hard to prevent this from happening the entire movie, and it eventually does happen. Like she decapitates it, and you're kind of like, I'm like, oh my God, 2 hours and it still happened. So in this particular viewing, and like I know that there's like major, consumerism, natural resource themes, like all up and down this movie. But at least in this particular viewing, I viewed like the real struggle of life. And I know it's kind of overt in a lot of senses in the movie, but like life is suffering. What's the point? So I like literally had that moment in the movie, like, oh God, what the hell was the point of all this? And then I was like, well, dum-dum. Like that's the question so many people ask in their own life. And like, why bother? Like, what's the point of all this? I did all I could and I'm still suffering. And I thought about 2 books that I had read, Man's Search for Meaning and this book on meditation, Vipassana meditation. So it comes back to like these Buddhist teaching. Not like I'm some learned person. I just read these 2 books a while ago. But it's about like man's search, and I'm capital M, man, everyone, but like the struggle through life and suffering and working hard, and like suffering will just always happen to a person. So in this particular watch of this movie, I just really connected with like that meaning, especially when they decapitated the forest god. It's like, this is just another part of your life that's going to involve heavy suffering, and you still have to like rise to meet it. I think there was that quote, you can't change your fate, but you can ride to meet it if you choose. And that's like your decision whether or not to continue. And then, so I was kind of like stoked about that part of the movie, but eventually they do return the head to the forest god. So I was kind of like, it almost kind of like removed some of my thinking that like, yes, they're suffering. They just have to deal with it. They still end up getting their way at the end, which kind of goes against my comments. But that was just my main thought for this viewing, is the suffering and not the kind of like natural resource themes. But I really loved it this time around. And for whatever reason, I didn't really connect with it on my last viewing in that way.
Yeah, I love all those messages in this movie as well. And well, I don't think those things. I don't think it's like the ending changes that, because the fact is like the great forest spirit does die and things are changed forever. And it's like whatever level of magic or whatever it is that's going on in this forest, it'll never be the same way it was before. So there's some irrevocable change of something that will never get back. And maybe from like a human perspective, it's like, oh, well, things are going to grow back and be okay, and we can rebuild Irontown. But for the inhabitants of the forest, like there is no going back. Like the suffering for them will be forever. Or it'll, in the few generations after this, it'll be forgotten, but it won't be what it was before. Right. And I like that too, that it's not like the suffering isn't just confined to like the human experience, but it's all organisms, all the life, even like the little tree spirits in the forest who seem to like die, but then maybe they're coming back. I don't really understand. I don't know the lore of those. But then even like, just the environment itself has changed.
Yeah, there was the other part that I really liked is when he gets healed, he has like that gunshot wound that he heals from, and he wakes up and like, the virus, the hatred, quote unquote hatred that's like fueling through him, like the mark is still there. I really like that scene where he just kind of like wakes up and thinks he's better, but he's like, oh, the mark is still there. I just thought that had so many levels of meaning in this particular viewing. Proto, number 2.
So speaking of books, I'm also reading a book right now. I'm almost through it, and it's called The Hidden Life of Trees. Jenna got this book from the library, and it's like one of the most fascinating books I've ever read. It's about this guy who's studied trees most of his life. He's like worked in forests in Germany and just studied just how they relate to one another, to their environment, just the different personalities of trees. Like, do trees have memory? How do they manage resources? How do they grow? What are their strategies for surviving? Like all this kind of stuff is just really fascinating. And I can't help now. Like when I go outside, I went for a walk in the woods in Connecticut, and I was just like, oh my God, these trees are doing what the guy said in the book. Look at this, children under this tree. It was crazy. But I'm like seeing trees in a whole different light. And watching this movie, it's kind of like the dream of being in an old forest, where there's been like enough peace and like time to go on for trees and plants to do whatever they want. Like, this is it. Like, it looks so cool in this movie. I think if magic is real in any sense in our world, it has to be inside trees. That's just my theory. But that scene, I just love that scene so much when San brings Ashitaka to put him in that lake and to go to that island. My God, that scene is just amazing.
How
and speaking
good
of
does
like the animation,
the water look?
The water,
right? The depth of the water animation is maybe the best water animation in history.
It's insane.
I thought you were about to say, Proto, like I've long had a dream to be a tree.
Well, he did mention that in this book. One of the services they do, if you want to, you can be buried beneath like a sapling tree so that the tree will, I guess, consume you over time. So there's a chance.
Did you get Jenna to agree to do that when it's time?
She's going before me, so.
So we have to trust Albin to do what's right with your ashes.
Yeah, Albin's in charge.
Albin's placing a TV on your gravestone.
He's Hail Marying your urn out the window somewhere.
If you Google, Miyazaki took Studio Ghibli to an island off of Japan. I forget the name of it, but it looks exactly like this film. Like the way you're talking about trees and you have to figure out how to get to this island. It looks it's almost picture perfect of this film. And it looks absolutely incredible.
Gotta go.
Dan, what's your number two?
Number two, for Nausicaa being my favorite Ghibli of all time, I still come back to Ashitaka probably being my favorite character in Ghibli films. And I find the writing of this character to be quite compelling. And I love his intro. Him and Yakul, defeating the demon, but also having his moments where he's sitting with his tribe and, having to be banished for being tainted now by the demon and watching the people around him, like, actually be upset about losing him as a person.
The infection will spread throughout your whole body, bone and flesh alike. It will cause you great pain, then kill you.
Is there no way we can stop it?
The prince got that wound by defending our village and saving our lives.
Do we just sit here and watch him die?
You cannot alter your fate, my prince. However, you can rise to meet it if you choose.
He just kind of does it. Like, he cuts off his top knot. He goes on his mission to do all the things he does in this film. But on top of him, like the way he's written, I love how he's animated as well. There's moments where there's a lot of long, quiet moments with him and Yakul, either the countryside or when they get to the lake. There's like little things that Miyazaki does with animating these films that we called, like, I think we talked about it in Totoro, called Ma and all that stuff. But there's like Ashitaka dipping his bowl in the water to drink it, but he washes it out first. Like, there's no reason to do that in the animation except just to add more humanity to these characters. Like when he feeds Yakul first and then eats whatever's rest. Like it's just really these subtle things. When he restrings his bow, like, I get so excited about him restringing a bow and I don't know why, but it looks awesome. Like he's ready for battle. And then the scenes when he attacks the first samurai crew, the decapitations of the head and arms, like, are out of nowhere, but the sound of the arrow flying, the animation of him on Yakul. I mean, there's so much about Ashitaka in this film that I think he's probably my favorite character in any of these movies. And he's great. He's fantastic.
Yeah, I was going to mention I loved at the onset where he's like trying to reason with the demon. At like the onset of the movie, he was just kind of like trying to plead, like, please stop. Like, we'll figure this out.
Yeah.
And then there are other scenes as well where he's leaving the Iron Town, like when he's carrying her on his shoulder, and the townspeople have already made a brief connection with him. And they're like, please, like, don't go any further. Like, don't do this. You'll be killed. And they like barely have known him for that long, but they've already made that personal connection with him. I love that.
So good.
Yeah, he has so many moments of self-sacrifice and just of willing to die for what he thinks is right, or for his like pursuit of peace at like all costs. Because like even the scene at the beginning with the boar, it's like violence is the last option for him. All this, there's so many scenes of him yelling to people and like giving them instructions for like surviving. It's like, don't stop shooting me, stop fighting. You're all going to die. You just need to leave now. And they're like still shooting at or the scene and he does kill those samurai at the beginning, but I love that scene where he's trying to get to Irontown and the samurai see him and they turn to him and then he just leaps over all of them into the water, and then they're shooting him, and he's just like cutting the arrows with his blade.
Yeah, that was cool.
He is kind of, I think, like him and is her name Nausicaa? Is that her name in that movie? I can't remember now. The princess.
Nausicaa?
Yeah, is that her?
Yeah, isn't she Nausicaa?
Okay.
I thought.
I feel like they are like a pair. Like they're they are so similar to each other.
What if?
What if? A universe?
Are we ship it? I haven't heard the term ship in a long time, but I ship the both of them.
No cap.
If James is listening to this episode, he just eye rolled into a coma.
Sorry, James.
Oh, another thing about that, what is so fascinating though about also that relationship, or Ashitaka, the way that it isn't romantic between him and San, I find also so fascinating. Like, can you imagine like Disney making a movie where like there's these two characters and them not being in love at the end of it?
They would never do it. Well, it's I think also in the English translation of this, it's lost the fact that the girl that runs up to him when he's leaving his village is actually his betrothed, like, wife to be. She calls him brother, but that was like how it was translated for us. So he's already, he's never allowed, he's kind of banished from that village, but so him and San's relationship really is more, defending each other or helping each other than it is romantic, even though there are moments where it seems like it could cross that line, but it really kind of never does.
I was watching a random Mononoke video on YouTube, and they were showing clips of like the American premiere, and he's there, and then like Neil Gaiman was there, and this was before I was on Wikipedia. I was like, why is Neil Gaiman on this thing?
It's a big fan.
Like so weird. I was like, what year is this? Why is he there?
One of my favorite premieres was, I think, at TIFF. I watched an interview or watched Miyazaki announce Mononoke, and he says something like, thank you for sitting through this really long movie or something. He was like, I know it's long, but thank you for watching the whole thing.
The last thing I'll say, Ashitaka was mainly probably my number 2, but I will say I watched the English language version, and I like Billy Crudup. I like the way I like his cadence of speaking. I felt like it was perfect for this character.
Yeah, all the American voices in this are kind of top notch too. Most of the Ghibli American dubs are very well done, but this one, Billy's amazing as Ashitaka for sure.
Proto number 3.
Yeah, I guess in terms of like something, I love the I want to say costumes, but it's kind of funny saying that in an animated movie. But just like the look of them, like we talked about San, but Ashitaka, like when he's traveling and he's got that grass cape with the hat, riding the elk. Yeah. I mean, what a look!
Great.
He looks great. He looks incredible.
Are you going to come to the meetup with that outfit on? Going to rent a horse to arrive to the theater?
I'll get
That
started
other
now.
scene where he's yelling to San across the water and his cape like swells up with the air blowing against him. Miyazaki does that a lot where things kind of like flare up a bit, but that shot of him is great.
Also, when he goes into the furnace room to help the girls,
he strips down.
What is that? Jenna came in at that point, and she was like, "What is happening?"
Danny, number 3.
Number 3, we got to talk about Joe Hisashi's score for this film. I mean, for his scores for all of the Ghiblis, but for this one especially, for a movie that is about war, and not really about war, but there's a lot of war happening and fighting and, you know, trying to understand each other. The piano score in this is one of the best that he's created. It's really beautiful, and it's really well done and placed throughout this whole movie. And we'd be remiss not to talk about it for sure.
Very good. I was listening to some hour-long version of Mononoke OST on YouTube earlier while I was getting our emails ready to go. Gorgeous. I think I was about to say this is my favorite Ghibli score. I don't remember Nausicaa. Now, like Perdo's comment earlier about like the most recent one you watch, becomes your favorite. But I feel like I need to go back and watch Nausicaa too.
Sam corrected me in chat. It's Joe Hisaishi.
Thank you, Sam.
Thank you, Sam.
We've pretty much gone through every topic that would have been in my top 3. So, Proto, honorable mentions and final rating for Princess Mononoke?
Honorable mentions. Let's see. Is there anything else I wanted to talk about? San and Ashitaka, not romantic, but that scene of her chewing the beef for him and put it in his mouth.
God.
Excuse me.
That's a moment.
Amanda turned to me and said, "No, I'm not doing that."
Casey goes, "Is she baby birding him?"
Yes. Love the tear. The tear scene is I mean, that's a meme in and of itself, right there.
I mean, you've memed it in and of itself.
I have. Several locations I have memed that.
Proud of you.
Thank you.
Other things I like, I was reading about just the description of when this is supposed to take place. And I guess they said like the Amishi people was like, I think like 14th or 15th century. But the idea was that it wouldn't be any actual time period, but would be, they refer to it as a symbolic never when. And I really like that.
Never when.
A never when.
Wow.
Yeah. I love that description. And then also just another quote that I saw from Minnie Driver, who I think she voiced Lady Eboshi. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
She said that Miyazaki shows that good and evil, violence and peace exist in us all. It's all about how you harmonize it all. And I thought that was great. I feel like that's what this movie kind of does. You know, like most Ghibli movies, this movie just like puts me in a good like headspace. It gives me the experience of almost meditating. It like just brings peace, even if like, you know, whatever conflict or action is going on in the movie, it's still just like this great ride in terms of just the score, the story, the characters. And I love Ghibli for that. And watching this a second time, I'm just really in awe at the storytelling. I think it's brilliant. The themes that it covers. There's so much more to like even unpack that we didn't really, you know, get to. But this is a 5-star movie.
Wow.
My gosh.
Wow.
Thank you.
Oh my God. Marcy called out Minnie Driver in chat. Listen, I just want to apologize again for conflating Fran Drescher for Minnie Driver last week and starring in The Nanny. That was an honest mistake. Please.
Could have been any one of us.
Danny?
Let me see. I love the fire lances, the guns that you first see Aboshi's tribe use. Those are rad. It won Japan's Best Picture that year, not just animated. It won Best Picture, and it was the highest grossing until Titanic in Japan. Miyazaki redrew or touched up 80,000 cells.
My God.
Of the 144,000 cells in this movie.
Throw up.
For a 2-hour movie, I love every second of it. When I watch a Ghibli film, I just want to live in it for as long as I can. And this one is no exception. It's a 5-star movie. It's a 5-star, top tier animated film of all time. And I honestly like it more than Spirited Away. So this is up there for me as one of my favorites, easily.
Love it.
Oh, boy. I don't even have any more honorable mentions to go through, to be honest. I think we hit everything.
Proud of us.
I'm proud of you guys, too. Alex is sweating in chat waiting for my rating. Yeah, this is great animation. The story is very fun. I do get bogged down a little bit in the length of the movie, specifically that final act, and it's just a me thing. I do get tied up in the resolution. You know, like really struggling with the life is suffering, and then it's a me thing. It's not a you thing. So I'm at 4 stars for Princess Mononoke. Nausicaa's still in the lead for me. For Ghibli, personally. Paul giving me the sad Ben Affleck rating. Paul, check your own rating on Letterboxd right now. I'm pretty sure you have that at 4 stars. Friend.
Check yourself, friend.
Check yourself before you wreck yourself. So that is Princess Mononoke. Great pick for the animated summer.
Great pick.
We have a lot of emails to get to.
Let's just go right in. Please.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Oh my
7.
gosh. 7?
No, sorry. Some of those were last week's 10-10.
Oh.
Apologies.
Let's not read about 10-10 again.
And I do want to point out, too, that I deliberately skipped over listening to the roundtable of Mononoke on the mixtape. I didn't want to be clouded by anyone else's opinions.
Oh.
Clouded?
Emails in. You can read us. You can write us a letter at 70mmpod@gmail.com. Hello, 70mm podcast. Thank you for the amazing podcast. Recently, I've been struggling with depression. Listening to you guys nat on about great movies has been amazing. Tintin have always been very near to my heart, and the Steven Spielberg movie was fantastic, but totally agree that forcing an alcoholic to drink is really weird and something that's not done in the books. Thanks for a great podcast. And when are you going to do Big Trouble in Little China?
Oh, gosh.
Oh, Kurt Russell month, maybe. He's got so many bangers. Thanks from Sweden. That's from Sam. When are we doing
Sam.
Kurt Russell month, Proto?
That's a good idea.
It's a great idea.
Kurt Russell month.
We've been throwing around actor months, too, recently.
Is the art dropped? I see the art channel's lit up. Let me see. Oh, God.
That's great.
You dumbass.
Stupid ass.
All right, let me mouse back over to live chat. Okay. Connor. First time email, Princess Mononoke. This movie connects with a lot of people. Hello, Danny, Proto, and Slim. This is my first time sending in an email to the podcast. I would have sent a voicemail, but I have little faith in my ability to keep it under 90 seconds. Thank you. I appreciate that. I started listening to 70mm a few months ago while going on walks. For whatever reason, it took me at least 10 episodes before I could tell Danny and Proto's voice apart.
Interesting.
Inside baseball, that's usually why I mention their name when I ask them a question. Anyways, I am mildly embarrassed to admit that not once have I watched a movie in anticipation for a new episode. Yes, aside from the films I've already seen, I listened to you three talk about a movie and piece together an inevitably incorrect take in my head. But that all changes this week with Proto's pick, Princess Mononoke. A while back, I was gifted a giant Ghibli DVD box set and have hardly made a dent in watching all the films. Kiki's Delivery Service is my favorite thus far. So I'm finally taking it off the shelf again and watching Mononoke on my PlayStation 2's DVD player the way Miyazaki intended. Thank you for such an amazing podcast to look forward to every week. Also unrelated, but Danny, please consider changing your rating on La La Land. No, Connor.
Not happening. Well, Connor. That would require me to watch it again. That's never happening. Yeah, great email. Thank you.
I've said it before, and I'll just say it again. When I am president, every American child will receive the Ghibli box set at birth. That is my promise to this nation.
Jash in chat real quick. Does anyone know why the film is called Princess Mononoke?
I thought it was like a sarcastic name.
So in Japanese, Mononoke Hime, Hime, I believe. And so it translates really to Princess of the Spirit of Vengeance. So it's really what the title would be called.
I also read that they were between the title Princess Mononoke and The Legend of Ashitaka as a title.
That sounds like a video game.
Which is interesting.
There was a lot of Link Zelda comments in chat tonight about Ashitaka. Do we want to listen to a voicemail from KK?
Always.
Let's play it right now.
Hey all, it's KK. I have been frantically parsing through my knowledge of every movie directed by Miyazaki, and I've come back with a question. For some filmmakers, the motifs and themes of their works are so ever-present that their exclusion, I feel, is a question to be answered. So my question is, why do you think out of every Miyazaki-directed movie, absolutely every Miyazaki-directed movie, Princess Mononoke is the only one that has absolutely no flight in it? Every other one of his directed movies has flight, if not as a theme, as a present motif. Castle in the Sky, Kiki's, Totoro,
Name 'em.
Porco Rosso, Spirited Away, Howl's Moving Castle, The Wind Rises. They all have flight. That's all I got. Obviously, building blocks for that could be flight is seen as freedom, and with freedom being antithetical to the idea of a curse, then maybe that might be it. I don't know. I'm just intrigued. It seems to me a question that should be answered. Bye. Or a question that should be asked. Bye.
About KK asking his own question, the voicemail, and then answering it
Yeah.
in the voicemail.
He did
doesn't
the
need
job
us.
for us.
Yeah, what he said
Thank you.
is what I was going to say. So there it is.
Thanks, KK.
No, that's a great call out, because I haven't watched you've watched those Miyazaki docs, but right, Danny? And I know they've talked, like, he is huge into flight and just like airplanes. And it's all over his work. So
Maybe with the nature themes, he wanted to just keep us grounded in this film.
Breaking news. I don't have any thoughts on that, VM. I haven't seen enough Ghiblis, but that's not the breaking news. Breaking news, I
That's
just
a great
got an alert.
question.
There's a new episode of Fun Sexy Bible Time podcast that just came out, Casey's Pod.
Oh my
Cry for
gosh.
Love, Celebs Meet Caddy Roger Ebert. Casey says don't listen. Casey, I can edit this out if you want. All right, let's see. Who's next? Oh boy, we might have a long email here. Let me just take a
sip.
swig. Cheers from Berlin.
Oh,
Hi guys, my name is Steph, and I'm writing from Berlin, Germany. I wanted to share with you that I really like your podcast and that I'm very grateful for all the work you do. I started the podcast at the fateful Dune episode, which we don't need to relitigate. And afterwards, I went and listened to the Batman episode, which is the one that got me hooked. You know you're a true fan when you still keep listening after that. I do want to just pause. How great was that Batman episode?
should we do it again?
Actually, for whatever reason, I thought Steph was talking about the original Batman one when Proto went off on Michael Keaton and his hairline. The hairline, still to this day, is the clip in the trailer that I refuse to remove. I am also a movie lover, and I wanted to share with you a crazy anecdote about a time I went to a double feature of Inside Out and Mad Max Fury Road. Both movies I hadn't seen at the time. I left Inside Out with my faith renewed in humanity, wanted to hug everybody, call my mom and tell her that I loved her, and basically hearing birds singing as I left the theater. Immediately after, I saw that there was a screening of Mad Max, and since I hadn't seen it, decided to go in. I left that screening wanting war, death, and destruction by my hand. I also decided to write because I love anything Studio Ghibli does, and I know the next movie is Mononoke. As it happens today, I was listening to the backlog of past episodes and ended my streak on the one about My Neighbor Totoro. Much like in the double feature I went to see, I left the episode full of love and happy with glee listening to the kids on the voicemails. However, immediately after I started listening to the Cats episode, and much like on that day, I then was left with a death wish for all humanity. Full disclosure, I had to stop the podcast because tears of laughter were streaming down my face as I was listening to Slim be outraged about the phrase "jellicle cats." That might have been our first bonus episode.
What a time.
As I was listening to you guys on Totoro, I was thinking about the very interesting pace that Ghibli movies have. There's no rush for the action to take place, and I don't think there's something common in animated movies or movies, quote, for kids. My first entry into these movies was Spirited Away, which I remember seeing in the theater in an international film festival at home in Venezuela. And I remember thinking I had never seen a movie like that. Truly magical. The only other time as an adult that I remember feeling that way about an anime movies is The Spider-Verse, which is a perfect film 15 banger.
Yes.
Speaking of animation, Danny, I'm an illustrator, and I have to say your art is incredibly beautiful. And I'm always looking forward to see what you come up with. Thank you for the incredible podcast. It is truly a staple of my listening catalog, and I can't wait to hear your thoughts on Mononoke. Are you coming to Berlin for a meetup at the Berlin Nail? I ask you. Lots of love from Berlin, Steph.
Gosh, Steph, thank you.
Yes,
we're coming to Berlin. Put it
officially
on the books.
Announced.
Just announcing
the next meetup is in Berlin.
She guessed it. We had to.
Cripes.
You know, bringing up Cats made me just realize we actually have like a long running history now of doing really terrible movies at different points. We've done Cats. We've done the Star Wars holiday special. We did whatever that Drew Barrymore, Keanu Reeves disaster was.
Oh, baby.
Is it time?
For another one? Another road?
Those are some
disaster?
of my favorite episodes, and I'm glad we spaced them out because it gives us like the energy to be disgusted by a bad thing.
True.
Yeah, let's do La La
email
Land next.
Comes from Alex in chat right now. What's up, 70mm? First time, long time. I just had to write in to participate in the incredible summer run you guys are on. Today, we are grateful for Proto's benevolence with this pick. Princess Mononoke is a longtime favorite of mine that perfectly showcases that patented Miyazaki blend of nature and magic. I was thinking about this latest rewatch that more than anything else, I need to shout out Joe. Sorry, I don't remember the pronunciation. So Joe Hisashi's score. As always, he delivers the kind of pitch-perfect accompaniment that's so integral to the full experience of any Miyazaki film. But this one, for me, is maybe the most moving of anything that came out of their collaborations together. That moment when Ashitaki rides away from his village and the main theme fully opens up gives me full-body chills every time. I can't wait to hear Slim work it into the final edit of the show. Thank you. I've always loved the partnership between Miyazaki and he, but just recently I realized he also did a bunch of Takeshi Kitano films, including the Yakuza classics Sonatine and Honey Bee. Alex really making me work in this email. This is amazing to me. Imagine John Williams taking a break from Spielberg and Lucas to score Mean Streets. Please. Speaking of appreciating the collaborations of creative masters at the peak of their powers, let me just close with my thanks for what a great ride the last few months have been listening to the pod and watching some of my favorite movies with this community. Can't wait to see everyone at the meetup and keep the fun rolling into the fall. Alex.
Gosh.
Kidding me with that email?
Thank you, Alex.
Kidding me?
Are you kidding me?
It's amazing. Sonatine, this movie is on my watch list.
Oh.
What?
Waiting for that to hit streaming, babe.
Is this meetup going to be the greatest night of our lives?
We're so close.
At the undisclosed location. The supporters know where it is. If you're listening, you're not on the Patreon, you don't know where it is. If I see you try to crash this party, I'm going to lose it. If you're not a patron.
Wait till they find out the movie. Just wait.
We're giving Mikey P lethal authority.
License to kill.
When do we find out? Oh, we haven't said where it is? Sorry. The details, I think, will be forthcoming very soon.
No, we can't tell them what movie it is until they get there so they don't cancel the trip.
Oh, yeah. All right. I think that's all of our letters.
It's time.
And now it's time for my pick for next week. Just went prayer hands.
Yeah, I'm excited. What is this going to be?
Oh, boy. It was close. I almost had a movie jump in the last minute.
Mm.
And the plan B pick speaks to something that I made a decision about for the rest of the year for my picks.
Oh.
But I won't reveal what that is necessarily. Maybe you'll see a trend over the next few months, excluding any kind of like Avatar BS that we're going to do later this year. I almost chose Princess and the Frog.
Oh,
I have not.
Holy
I don't think
cow.
I've seen that, and I still really want to see it. But it did not make the final cut. Gross. But the great healing must continue.
Oh my God.
From the events of July 19th. The healing will continue until morale improves. My pick for Anime August, it should be academic right now. It is Akira from Katsuhiro Otomo, streaming on Hulu, Tubi, and you can get a shiny 4K disc.
Woo!
We need to right some wrongs.
Yes.
Okay?
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
I did buy the 4K. I put it on while I was working, so I don't think I gave it a rating. I've seen this movie a bunch. I'm excited to sit down and devote my full attention. Little known fact for some deep divers, Paper Keg covered the entire manga of Akira years ago. Me, Jonesy, former guest in the Indiana Jones episodes, and Dale, producer emeritus. This is like a rookie mistake. We covered the whole manga in one episode.
That's insane.
It's like 6,000 pages.
It's insane.
What we're doing. And I think we also did an episode on Akira, so I might listen back to that just to see how my opinion has changed over time. So, Prado, what do you think, Akira?
Oh man, I am so pumped. I am. Wow. This is wow. What we're doing this month.
We're doing it.
People are going to be talking about this for a long time.
I can see tears welling up in Proto's eyes.
Ashitaka laying in the grass.
Danny, you pumped to watch Akira?
You're now forcing my hand. You know this, right? You are forcing my hand to my pick. My pick's been locked before the vote.
What?
And now I feel like I have to pivot.
Oh.
I need to pray about this.
Please.
I need to sit in prayer and meditation to figure out what I'm going to do.
Akira art from Danny. I need people to realize this. Okay?
You just woke up your house. Alvin's pissed.
Just jumped out of bed 3 feet. Anyway, the hits keep coming. Proto, any closing thoughts for this week as we enter further into the animated summer?
You know what I left this movie thinking is what we were talking about, how, the different characters, they are kind of just like doing their own thing and they don't see themselves necessarily as the villains. And Boshi, she's doing what she thinks is right, but she's hurting other people and she's she's the villain to San. And I think, in our own lives, like we're always our main characters, but in someone else's story, there's different points where we're going to be somebody's villain. I think that's just the way life is, but we do have the choice. We can choose peace even in those moments. So I'm going to try to choose peace more often in my own life.
We'll see everybody next week for Akira in World War III. "70mm" is a tape deck production featuring original artwork provided by Danny Haas. Spiritual guidance and V'ger, the robot who loves movies, provided by Pertalexis. Producer at large, Dale_A. Transcripts provided by Sophie Shin and music composed by Cinematric. Prints and other merch are available on 70mmpod.com. This episode was mixed, edited, and produced by me, Slim. Support our Patreon for access to our VHS Village Discord to talk movies with new friends, access to our exclusive episodes in the 70mm vault, discounts on merch, uncut episodes, and a physical membership card mailed to you. To check out other Tape Deck podcasts, find the link in the episode notes. And if you'd like to support our friends at Letterboxd and upgrade to pro or patron status, you can do so with a 20% off discount using the links on 70mmpod.com. Goodbye.
This is a Tape Deck podcast.